Good morning. Jenna Harris Hernandez here with an amazing guest. Gina Talkington is here with me today.
Hello, I'm so excited. Yay.
Yay. Okay, awesome. I would love to tell you why I personally wanted to invite her on the show. Gina and I have been kind of working together on and off just with accountability and things like that over the past year and a half. What I just so admired was her dedication to her clients and her ability to time block. She's doing more transactions as a part-time agent that some people are doing full-time. And I think that when you hear something like that, you need to pay attention because so many times we can let excuses get in the way, time, or I have this many kids or whatever. And the bottom line is she's not making excuses and she's getting things done. And I can tell you right now that whether you're an experienced agent or whether you're new, you're going to hear some really great takeaways today. So with that, I'd love for Gina to come on and tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your work, your life, kind of why you got into real estate.
Well, with an introduction like that, no pressure. And
Sorry. I promise to keep it casual.
I know. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to be really honest. This is one of those things that I as I watch the morning club and you see there and you're like, one day I'm going to do that. It's been on my one day list. And so I feel so honored to be here today. I just really hope that I'm able to give value, praying for good things. So a little bit about me. I am, as you say, I like to tell everybody that I'm a dual career agent. That's the word I use. When I talk to other agents and they're like, I'm a part-time agent. I'm like, oh, honey, no. There's nothing part-time about what we do. It's all in. I put in just as many hours as a quote unquote full-time agent or only career agent as I do in the dual career world. I just have to, like you said, prioritize and time block. It just takes, and I work literally just like everyone else, 7 days a week. My schedule is 7 days a week and I have really long hours, and I'm sure just like everybody else does. I've been with my other company, my W-2, for 14 years, Bye Bye Baby. I started off with them as an assistant manager. I promoted up through. I am currently a senior associate for the business development and innovation team on the corporate office side. It is a remote position, so I was able to apply and I actually got the promotion because it is remote. I'm in Dallas, corporate office is in New Jersey, so I do a lot of Zoom calls. I started my career a little over 4 years ago, going on 5 now, years ago. And back then, I did a lot of traveling for Bye Bye Baby. I was a district customer service manager. So I had 16 stores that I directly reported to in 5 different states that I had to visit on a monthly basis. And so I did a lot of traveling. It was a lot of time away from the family and a lot of heart and soul. There's a lot that goes into building a new company at that time. And I was sitting on the plane one day waiting for it to taxi off, and kind of out of nowhere. And I know this might sound crazy to some people. And when I explain it, I don't know how else to explain it other than I hate saying spirit because then it sounds like, I'm like, the spirits talk to me. But, Holy Spirit.
Me too. Yeah, they talk to me too.
Yeah, so spirit talked to me, right? And I was sitting there and just kind of came over me. It was like, you need to go into real estate. And I'm like, what? Right. And it just kind of it felt good, but at the same time, your conscious mind is like, seriously, Gina, you're ADD, right? And so then take off, and I believe I landed in Kansas that day. Went to work, called my husband, I landed fine, did my thing, did my visits, and then was checking in the hotel and checking in with my husband that night, how are the kids? And because, by the way, I have 4, and 2 at home, 2 outside, and I'm a grandma, precious Luke, so I can't forget him.
Nobody has excuses. I just like to add that in there, people. Okay.
Yeah. So I called him and I was like, hey babe, how are you doing? And I said, yeah, the craziest thing happened today. I think I'm going to start looking into real estate. And he was like, well, why would you, why? Where's this coming from? I said, I don't know. I was sitting on the plane and it just kind of came to me. And I feel like this is something I need to be looking into. And he's like, well, if the Lord's pushing you that way, then I wouldn't sit idle. Well, being a good Christian woman of 4 children, I sat idle for a really long time on that, but it didn't go anywhere. I just kept feeling like this thing to do this. And so I started, looking into podcasts and kind of doing, some, online stuff. And then I found this one school that did payment plans. I heard one person say one time, most people live paycheck to paycheck. One paycheck behind. And at times that's kind of how I felt our household was. So I didn't want to take out of our household to do something else. So I found the payment plan thing. I'm like, and I pitched it to Robert. He's like, you know what? If it's being laid on you, it's for a reason. So we did it. I did the classes. So I was studying like on the plane. I printed the little books so I could take them with me, the hotel room, lunch breaks, like every time I could get, I was trying to get the studying in between doing the 55 hours a week, because that's what my work requirement is for Bye Bye Baby. So got all that done. And again, like that faithful steward, took forever to take that test because I was like, I'll just do it when I'm ready. Well, ready never came, to be honest.
Ready never comes for anything.
I was just like, I'll get there. And then Robert was like, do you ever really plan to do this? And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to schedule it. I'm going to schedule it and I will be ready. And that's I think my very first lesson of time. Work expands to the time allotted. Scheduled it. And I did it like 2 weeks out. Like the next test was like 2 weeks next. And I hadn't touched those books in probably like 6 months. Like it had been forever since I even looked at anything real estate. So during VBS, I was volunteering for VBS. I took my laptop and I had like an off rotation. So during the off rotation, I sat in the classroom and I'm like going through and trying to get everything. And then again on lunch breaks, like doing the little practice tests and stuff like that. And then I went and I called Robert and I was bawling, like that ugly, ugly crying bawling.
Sometimes we all need one.
Yeah, he was like, oh, babe, it's okay. It's okay. You can take it again. Remember, you just read that the failure rate's like 63%. You'll be okay. It'll be okay. We can do it again. And I'm like, but I didn't fail. So why are you?
That's awesome.
And you can hear him yelling, Mom passed, Mom passed.
Oh, yay.
And so I came home and then that became the next, like, I think like all of us, you're like, oh, and then you realize like there's all this money that has to be paid. You just don't actually get
surprise.
Yeah, you're like, I need help. Like I'm sitting there and I'm going through and I'm like adding it up and I'm like, oh man, now like now how do we make this? And that's a big chunk, right? Yeah. And I don't want to say how I ask for, because I mean it's our money, but still at the same time, everything is really defined.
Yeah, you have to weigh those decisions when other people are depending on you, Yeah.
And I went to Robert and I'm like, remember, I overlooked a couple things. It's this. And so, and he's like, well, we'll figure it out. Like it'll happen. He's like, if God really wants you to do this, it's going to happen. Like that, I just have to have faith. And I'm like, well, not that I don't have faith, but I'm glad you have a little bit more than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the crazy thing, Jenna, absolutely insane. And my husband's a field engineer. And at that time he worked for Burkhoff Henderson Carter. And they do in his field, like in his thing, they always do like end of year bonuses. And so we always get like, which is such a blessing when he started that year, Jenna, because I finished all my stuff in June. 2 weeks later, an announcement came that they were going to do a mid-year bonus instead of just things. So I get thinking about it now. So that year they got a July bonus. The July bonus was like $200 more than what we needed to pay for all the stuff to get me up and going.
That's amazing.
All the fees, the cards, just the little things and stuff. And we did it. He called me. He's like, you're not going to believe this. I'm like, believe what, babe? He's like, God did it. I told you he would. And it's the only year that company has ever done that. They've never done it before and they've never done it since.
Let's acknowledge some things here, guys. Like, first and foremost, there's so many good things in all the things you just said. Like, you did not make excuses. You went for it. You stepped out in faith. I always say faith over fear. I feel like as entrepreneurs, we have to do that like every day. Every day. We have to live in that state of faith over fear. And so she took this step, she did it, and that is amazing. And I think that is the mark of an entrepreneur, really, is it doesn't matter if you're scared. You're always going to be scared. You're always going to have something to be afraid of, or you're always going to have an excuse. The point is you stepped out in faith. You didn't let those things get in your way, and you just did it anyway. And guess what? What is that saying? That God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And so you heard the call. And even if you're of a different faith, guys, like that's okay, because we all have a unique purpose, and God, universe, whatever you want to call it, has a plan for all of us. And so I just loved everything that you said. So having said that, I feel there's like 5 things we could just talk about from just the beginning, but like that was a big takeaway. But tell us now, what are like 1, 2, or 3 things that you really feel helped you build a strong foundation while being a dual agent or a dual career agent? I love that so much more than part-time too. So now I'm going to change my vocabulary. We all should change our vocabulary.
So I think the number one thing that really helped me, one is I can't fail. I really truly felt like, okay, so now we've invested this. I've taken this extra, like all this, and I'm like, I have to. Like it was just that sense in me. And then the have to part, because I had to balance both. We needed my Bye Bye Baby income. Like it's always been our solid, and I'm not gonna lie, I make good money, with them. So I had a time block. I got up earlier than other people did, and people they're like, I cannot believe how early you get up. I'm like, well, I have to, because before Bye Bye Baby was real estate time. So it was like returning, sending out emails or follow-ups that I needed to do, with the knowing that I would follow up again at noon, because that would be my lunch break. And so that was my next touch point, so I made sure to have those 3 touch points with my people and my, as I did stuff. So it was morning, afternoon, and then the evening. And most of my clients, my core group, knows that I do both. But if I met you at an open house and we went through, you would have never known, and they don't know.
Exactly.
That I work for both. If you look at my personal page, but there's no mention of Bye Bye Baby anywhere.
Yeah.
You just don't see it. And it's because, not that I'm not appreciative of Bye Bye Baby, it's just I didn't want, because there is this stigma that if you can't do both, and you're just a part-time agent, and part-time agents that aren't fully committed. Oh, heck no. There's no one that I will put myself up against anybody, that I will out hustle you, and I will find a way for my clients. And I'm super committed to that. And so I didn't want to come with that stick. So I just completely always separated it. And then also at the same time, I didn't want Bye Bye Baby thinking, oh, she's not doing her job anymore, she's just focused on this. And so I had to have those very clear dividers, I guess, and compartmentalize everything. So I get up earlier, and then I check the hot sheets. I'm seeing what went on the market, what went reduced, what sold. That way, when people are asking me, I can tell you. And then at first, I was trying to be everywhere mentally. And then I do a lot of podcasts, I
love them too.
All the time, right? I tell everybody I was raised on Tom Ferry and Brian Buffini, and then spent on Rachel Adams. That's kind of where I truly was everything and anything I could get in the beginning. I was really trying to learn, and there's many people that helped me that don't even know they did, because I stalked you on Facebook or something, and I was trying to see what they were doing, because I believe success leaves clues, right? And I'm like, well, if they're doing it, what are they doing, and how can I make it mine? And that was a big thing. When I would talk to Robert, he was like, and I would say, oh, so-and-so doing this, and I see there, and he's like, yes, but you are you, and people love you for you. Don't lose you. So when you look at these things, make sure that you bring it back and you make it Gina. And so I think that's where that loving on part comes from, because I love loving. And then I had to give myself grace, because there was times when, the exercising thing might not have happened that day, or that, and it's okay. Or if I missed, you know what, I'm a human, and it's okay. And I'll own it, apologize if I missed an email, and then move on.
Absolutely. Because
they understand it too, and just as a mom of 4, just as a mom and running your business, people understand that you are busy and it's okay. So that was the first thing, I think, was really just kind of, and getting things as systemized as possible. Yes. So KV Core, I love KV Core, right? And I use the squeeze page.
Everybody take notes.
Yes. So I use squeeze pages everywhere. You are not going somewhere without finding some sort of squeeze page for these homes have just decreased in value. These are rentals that you can find, and these are this. And so I have squeeze pages and they go in and then I follow up with them on that. You get your messages, this lead's done this. And so then you can do your follow up also, checking your little account, like it's telling you what to do. So you just kind of got to follow its lead and then add you to it. And the other part, this probably isn't as popular theory with everybody. Facebook is where I started. Facebook is where I am. Facebook is where I've really gone in on. And others are like, well, you're not on this and you're not on this and you're on this. I'm like, I'm only one person. And even with the stuff automatically going, I can either be really good on Facebook or I can be average everywhere. And I don't know if I need to be average everywhere right now. So for now, Facebook is where I am. The next thing I did start was my Google business page. A lot of stuff on my Google business. And if you actually, in my area, if you type in realtor near me, I'm one of top 3. So I wrote between 1 to 3 each time after the paid ad people, which means my page gets enough movement on it that it keeps me organically on the top. So
that's amazing.
That was Jason Pantana is another person that I like feverishly listen to.
You've told me that before. Yeah.
I go through and I do a lot with that, but I try to make sure it's systemized as much as possible. So like my KCM goes on there and KV Core automatically goes on there. And then I add personal posts and my own little videos just to kind of, I call it seasoning it with me. So your meat and potatoes are those. And then, but systemize anything you can. And that was something you taught me because I was trying to do everything myself. And you were like, Gina, you need to start systemizing. So, and that really has helped free up me to do things that I really need to do.
So can I point out a couple things again that are so critical here? Because have you ever heard her say that she was going to try real estate? No, she's going to do real estate. Like there's such a big difference between trying something and desiring something. And then the next level is drive. There's a difference. There's the difference between like a winner and somebody who's going to be benched during the game. If you just have the desire, that's great, but that is going to fade. Drive keeps you going. And I think that's one thing that it took us talking today more for me to put my finger on. That is the difference. You're driven. Like there's also this story that they say about this army that went to war, and basically they sailed up to this island, right? There's no escaping, and they were all in their boats. We've all heard this. This is like a big saying in the business world. And rather than have a way to escape, they burned all their ships once they arrived at this island to make war. And I feel like you did not give yourself the option to fail. You're like, I've invested into this, I have sacrificed, and you basically went all in. You didn't give yourself an escape route. And I love that. I think we need to take note of that. And last but not least, have you heard over and over and over again, like learning, growing, you have to be willing to learn. If you think that you're the biggest, baddest, most amazing thing on the planet, I hate to break it to you, but you're not. The people who become the biggest, baddest people on the planet, the people who know that there's something left to learn. And she learns, and then guess what though? Implements. Learning's great. Implementation is the difference between somebody who's going to get to where they want to go. She learns, she implements, she immersed herself in real estate. And I think that that is a golden takeaway.
I think it's just time blocking, getting things in system, and then again, that growth mindset. And then, and giving yourself grace. I think those are the things that really kind of still to this day help. When I started out, I told myself I was going to be the queen of open houses because I didn't know, like, I didn't like advertising to like my sphere, which was Bye Bye Baby. I didn't really feel comfortable doing. So I was like, and I actually heard a podcast. And this lady called herself the queen of open houses. And I was like, well, I'm the next queen of open houses. You might
take over.
But I'm coming here in Texas. And so I, at that time, I was like, okay, all right, so how do I make open houses successful? So then podcast world, right? So I'm in YouTube. So I'm going through and I came up with like a system of what I thought would work. And I'm like, okay, this is my formula for open houses. Like in the beginning, I had like 5 of those generic little like open house directional signs. And I had a Cricut machine and I was like, mine are going to be better. Like I want people to look at mine and be like, I want her to be my agent. So I would get a Cricut machine and I would Cricut the address onto the signs because I really hated the whole handwritten thing. And yes, it was more time, but it was just that level of professionalism that I wanted to show, right? And then I could take it off and redo it.
Yeah.
And so I would do the little signs. And then once I got my first transaction, which was from an open house, I was like, yes. So then I was like, okay, I need to invest all in on open houses. This is where this is it. This is where I said I was going to make my mark. So then I bought 25 of the big 18 by 24 with the picture, directional, all the advertisement, open house signs. And so now, if you can't find your way to my open house, I don't know if I want to work with you. I know that sounds mean, but I mean, and what I loved about that was because the people that are like if they're out just like looky-looing, right, which are kind of more top of the funnel for people, but still that means that they don't have an agent. And that's the one I really wanted. People that were really probably looking at it on their phone, probably were already working with an agent. And I did notice that. So I was like, I need to make sure, and that's why I really wanted to go in on the more of the open house signs. And I did. I would get more people at the open house. In the beginning, I want to say it was like 70, and I should know this better, but I want to say it was like 79% of my attendees were unrepresented. And so my statistics became that 1 out of every 2 open houses, I got a new client. And so I would go, and it wasn't just putting up the signs though. So when people like post and are like, does anyone want to hold an open house tomorrow? And I've had people ask me, hey Gina, because I would hound you for an open house. I would call other brokers. Hey, can you have an open house that I can have? If you were in the neighborhood I wanted, I was relentless. And I would have other brokers like, I don't, but do you want to come work for us? I'm like, no, I just get a house, I want a house in that neighborhood because I'm really working on that neighborhood right now. It's scheduling the open house. It's doing the flyers. It's door knocking, like on a week, especially back then. I was doing 2 open houses a week. I had them scheduled on Saturday, one more morning, one in the later afternoon with a 1-hour block a gap in between in the same city. So it was easier for me to move around, get the signs moved. And then I was door knocking 200 doors a week, inviting neighbors. So
that is freaking awesome. Like, I'm sorry. That is dedication. If you want to know what a winner looks like, you are on a call with one today. Like, Gina, you're amazing. Seriously.
Well,
you are more amazing than you even know.
But it's because I had, like, from the beginning, and I still do, I'm like, I'm going to have a team, right? And we've talked about this. And I'm getting ready, like I said, this year, God willing, like, I'm burning my bye-bye baby boat, and I'm really trying to get everything, like, I've been really trying to get everything lined up so I can do that and just be all, just that's it, that leap of faith. But again, we had to be financially there, the months of savings, and because we didn't have that. So there's just been a lot of things we had to get in place for that. So burn that boat this year and next year too. But I want to make sure I have that foundation to give my people. So
what a firm foundation though. I mean, you have laid such a firm foundation. We can't get off this call without you telling them about your pop buys.
Oh, yes. I love my pop buys. So I have a calendar over there that you can't see, but I plan out my year of my pop buys. So I do different things each month. So it's everybody in my past clients or someone who I'm working with currently. And sometimes those people I'm trying to I'll like send them stuff too. But it'll be like little stuff, and I mean, it's nothing super expensive. Each one will cost me a few bucks at the very most. Like, I'm super cheap, guys. I really am. But I'll buy stuff in bulk, like from the dollar store, and put little things together for different holidays, and I'll send it to them. And people love it. Like, Robert at first made fun of me. He was like, what are you seriously doing? Do you really think people want this stuff? And then people would post she's always bringing me stuff, and always for the kids or this. And I work with a lot of mamas, so in their mind, I think they think I'm bringing it for their kids, but it's just kind of, again, trying to stay top of mind. So last year, 67% of my transactions truly came from a referral. So someone I worked with either from the open houses before or someone that referred me over. So, and even my rental people have referred me because they know people who own homes, people who have bought and sold and stuff. So last year, the majority of my transactions came from a referral from someone I closed the previous years. So again, those pop buys like really work. Just kind of top of mind.
Also, let's think about this for a second. We're business owners, right? She knows her numbers. Do you know your numbers? because for some of you guys, maybe your team leads, or we have to know our numbers. She didn't say, oh, I think maybe, 67%. Like, she knows her numbers, and 79% from open houses. Your numbers tell you something.
Yes.
There's gold in that. There's gold in the data. And so pay attention to your numbers.
Like, you have to know what's working and what's not, because you don't want to spend your time, especially your resources. Your biggest resource you have is your time. And especially in the beginning, when you don't have money, it's sweat equity. You're going to spend one of two, money equity or your sweat equity. And I sure wasn't sweating on something that wasn't giving me any kind of benefit.
Okay, so before we wrap up, so you have about 5 minutes. I want to hear, because we've talked about this before, but there has been so much greatness in this, and I'm actually going to go back and rewatch this and write down all of the things, because I feel like I missed 2 or 3 things I wanted to point out, but it's just real estate's hard. You have 4 kids, you're a grandmother, you have much more than full-time job with a lot of responsibility. Real estate can be discouraging. The sales cycle is long. I already see how you talk to yourself. You talk positively to yourself and you believe in yourself. That's step 1. But beyond that, how do you deal with the discouraging times, and how do you keep going?
It's knowing the numbers. And my husband asks me that all the time. So you go through, and again, I don't just put up a sign. I put a lot of work into my open houses, and my husband sees this, right? And there are those days when nobody comes, and you're so I'm working at the open house. So I'm still doing stuff, but it's still and he's like, I don't know how you do this. I don't know how you're how do you just keep on? He asked me this the other day. I said, it's numbers, babe. I know I have to have, and right now currently within the last 8 months, my open house ratio is 1 new client to 3 open houses, because it has extended out for some reason. So that does mean that every 3, I will get 1 new client. If I'm I need to get someone in the pipeline, well, I guess I need to be doing some more open houses, because so I know I have to, you're going to have, it's numbers. This whole thing is a numbers game in at the very top of it, led by your heart. I think if you're trying to help your people genuinely and help them and be there for them, then you can never lose. But to kind of help keep me going, it's we're going to have zeros, and it's okay, because you know what? That's 1 to the 3. And so there's the next one. And I think that's what kind of helps keep me going. Otherwise you kind of do feel like if you don't know your numbers, then you do feel like you're kind of just lost and wandering. You don't have that map to know, okay, this, boom, I should have this. And if I get to 3 and I didn't, then I kind of need to sit back and kind of self-reflect. Did I really give it my all? And what's going on in the market? Is there something that I might be missing? Do I need to try to do something? Just kind of what adjustments need to be made at that time is what I'll do. But I think that's because it is going to happen. And it is kind of hard sometimes. And just yesterday, I got a phone call from another agent. It was a lease lead that I got. This is a whole almost different can of worms, but she calls me, she asked me, do I know the people? I'm like, no. I said, it's an online lead. I said, yeah. So we're denying their application. I spent 2 weekends showing them homes. And I was like, okay. She's like, well, they didn't meet the credit, but beyond that, their application was almost all fraudulent. And a lot of other things kind of went at the same time. But at the same time, you're like, seriously? I spent 2 weekends showing them homes.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, and my husband always says he never gets a commission check till it happens. But I sometimes do. I'm like, that can go to pay for.
It's hard not to. Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll start this will pay for Kayla's tires, because we need tires.
Yeah.
This, I start kind of moving money around sometimes in my head.
It's hard not to.
So I was just kind of oh man, and then you're like, you know what, it's a life lesson. And that's kind of how I'm okay, it didn't work out. And but you know what? I showed, I was like, I'm showing homes today. I gave myself relevance on my sphere. I saw homes. I just try to figure out, there's always a nugget that you get out of anything anyways.
Yes.
And I know I need to figure out a better way to stay safe beyond. My husband's like, well, this is why you have your concealed handgun. And I'm like,
exactly.
You need it. That's the point. I'm like, I need to figure out.
I hope you never need it. Yeah.
So I think that's that. Know your numbers and just give yourself grace, and know that there's a goal. Whatever your goal is, you got to keep working for it. And I have my goals I set each year of what I want to accomplish and do. And you're going to just keep picking yourself up and moving forward. That's what makes you, at the end of the day, that's who wins the race. The person that keeps getting up, getting to the end.
I love it. Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I feel like that was very inspiring. And I feel like we all can take away so many great things from that. And the last thing that I will say is remember how you talk to yourself. There's a few things here. She talks to herself positively. She believes that she can. And there's sometimes, guys, if you don't believe that you can yet, that's why you need to be on the morning show with us. We need to be here. Like, if you don't know that you can yet, borrow some of ours. We know that you can because we're just normal people. People who are top producers were just at the bottom like everybody else when they first started. And so talk to yourself positively. If you're just not there yet, come to the morning show, immerse yourself in podcasts, find somebody that you enjoy learning with and from, link arms with other people, find a community, get involved. Like, you cannot walk this road alone.
No.
And I'm really so glad that you joined us today. And everybody, I hope you go back and watch it and have a pen and paper and start putting some stuff to implement inside of your own businesses. So thank you so much for coming.
Welcome. Thank you so much. And real quick, on the positivity thing, there is a podcast, and I actually listen. It's called Positive Affirmations, and I'll be going down the road. I am a mega agent. I
love it.
Transactions that I can.
I love it. Okay. Thank
you so much for having me here.
It was an honor.
Thank you.
I love your information. I love your energy. You're going to do such amazing things. And I think you've built such a firm foundation. I'm excited to see where you go. And everybody who's on the call, I'm excited to see what you do with this amazing information. And if you want to be on the show or you know someone who wants to be on the show, give me a shout at jennaharris@jfr.com.
Thank you,
Bye, everybody.
Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.